think it's really two main points. The first point is that we need to find a new way of doing development which integrates environmental considerations. And the reason for that is we're really entering a new, well, we're calling it a new geological epoch, the Anthropocene. And what that means is it's an era where human beings are changing the natural environment on a scale similar to or greater than natural processes. So we move as human beings more rocks and minerals than all of the rivers and so on in the world. We apply more nitrogen than natural processes. So we're affecting the natural systems at a scale as big as or bigger than natural processes. And that's causing huge environmental problems like climate change, huge rates of biodiversity loss, real damage to the nitrogen cycle and so on. Well, with development, a lot of the way that countries have raised themselves out of poverty to date has been through economic development, and that economic development has been built on exploitation of the world's natural resources to raise people out of poverty. So in our terms, it's exchanging natural capital for human and social capital. It really means we have to find a new way of doing development, because in the past, people have raised themselves out of poverty through economic growth, and that economic growth has been dependent on exploitation of the world's natural resources. But those world's natural resources are finite and are now under stress and are causing the environmental problems that I talked about. So we have to find a different way of doing development that doesn't depend on exploitation of the natural resources. Because if we continue to do it in the way that we are currently doing it, then a lot of the development gains that we will see will be undermined by the consequences of the environmental damage, things like climate change causing extreme events, flooding, drought, cyclones, heat waves and so on. And we know that when those things happen, that sets back development by years. So you gain the development on the one hand and then you lose it on the other. The Millennium Development Goals really focused on just development. There was a Millennium Development Goal 7 on ensuring environmental sustainability. It was largely ignored. So we're arguing this time you can't have a separate, you can't separate these things anymore. You need to actually build them into the goals, build them into the targets so that they are done together. In other words, you can't achieve your food goal without the environment. You can't achieve your water goal without the environment. But you also can't make your environmental goal without considering the environmental services, the ecosystem services that the natural environment provides. And so by integrating them, we argue that you can actually try and get a better outcome both for development and for the natural environment. There's always that tension between the very short term, what's best for people in the short term, and what's best for the majority of people in the longer term. And that's a very, very difficult balancing act. It's no use saying we're going to put all of our money into long-term food production and we're just going to let a load of people starve. You can't do that. But equally, you can't say we're going to put all our money into short-term providing food, raising people out of poverty, because if we know in the long term that it's all going to disappear. So we need to balance it, and you can balance it.